Big thanks to Bluefin Distribution for sending this out. Check them out and links to buy in the description. Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven's Toy Reviews. Hello there, collector. Steven here, and welcome to another Dragon Ball Figuarts review, where today we're taking a look at a figure we have been waiting for so long since the original Frieza Figuarts got released. That's going to be the original Final Form Frieza. Today we're taking a look at the SH Figuarts Frieza First Form and Frieza Pod set. Wow. Wow, what a time it is to be a Dragon Ball Figuarts collector. This was a release we only thought of all of those years ago when we were just beginning to get some of the Goku repaints. We just got Frieza, teases of stuff like Vegito and the androids. Fast forward to today, and now we're getting forms of the villains in the Dragon Ball franchise. Now, is this the wish we would hope that Porunga would grant, or is Frieza better off staying in HFIL? Let's take a look to see whether or not he's worth adding into your collection. When it comes to sculpt and paint, realistically speaking, for the newer Dragon Ball Figuarts, Bandai has been knocking it out of the park. Yes, there may be some discrepancies with the particular manga panel or anime episode based on the animator or the illustrator, but generally speaking here, Frieza looks just fine. Now again, there may be some discrepancies you're able to pull from the source material based on this one particular episode where Frieza maybe looked a different color pink, maybe the armor was a little bit different purple, but generally speaking, Toriyama helped out with this particular release, and I'm going to back that up just a little bit later when we talk about the accessories. So generally speaking, Frieza he's looking fantastic. There are maybe a couple of things you're going to see up close and personal with super zoomed in macro photography, but I can assure you in hand, nothing that you may be seeing on the screen here is going to really pop out, and that just being maybe the eye decals aren't 100% cleanly applied, and you can see the seam line for where the little, I guess, earmuff, I guess that's what you would call it, would be swappable for the Scouter. But even then, that's a factor of the figure. That's a feature, not really a defect. So generally speaking, if you're a fan of the first form Frieza, then congratulations. You have one stellar looking figure here. Frieza's articulation is actually rather rock solid for his size, and there are a couple of joints that surprised me. So what do we have? Well, the head actually plugs in on a ball joint, as you can see here, and then there is a hinge, swivel, and then there is a swivel where the neck plugs in. So swivel at the base, we have hinge movement, and then ball joint movement where the head plugs in. So we get some pretty solid range of movement there. Swapping the head parts, which this is a part of the accessory section you'll see in a little bit, it can be a little bit tricky because sometimes when you go to plug the head in, the joint will like to fall back or forward. And then also note the other head that is attached seems like back here is a little smaller. So Frieza definitely can look up a little bit more with the other head sculpt, and but it's just a minor amount. It's negligible. It's negligible. Seriously, it's so small. It's almost not even worth mentioning, but I did. Then we do have a ball joint down here where this sculpt plugs into the body at the shoulders. So Frieza can get a little bit wild with that articulation for the neck. Hinges for the shoulder pads. These are fantastic. They move very well. The only thing that I would like is maybe a swivel of some kind, so this way these can move out of harm's way in the event something should go wrong with the shoulders. Not that something would go wrong, but hey, you know, sometimes people may slip up their hand, and I don't know. But anyway, butterfly hinges where the shoulders plug into the body, as you can see. Frieza does have pointy armor, so it is going to limit the range ever so much, but that's still a good range of movement there, and that little bit of extra does help with the articulation. Where the arms plug in, they are going to be on ball joints, so we can spin them around. We can raise and lower the arms about this much with the addition of the shoulder pad hinges for the armor. Then we do have dedicated hinges in the shoulders themselves, so we can raise and lower that far, and then when we flex forward and back about that far, we do have bicep swivels. We have a nice cut there for the bicep, which is cool. We have double hinge elbows, as you can see there. And then this is a joint that surprised me. We actually have forearm swivels. So that's pretty cool. You spin all the way around. Wrists, standard Figuarts style, where we're going to have a swivel where they plug in, hinge, and then ball joint where the hands attach, just like the neck. Ab crunch is going to be on a ball joint. Mine is rather tight, twisting and turning, but leaning forward and back. Good range of movement. And then when we go forward, we don't really have that big of a gap, so that's good to see. Now for the waist, it is on a ball joint, so we can spin Frieza all the way around if we want. And then there is actually a hinge in there which allows forward and backwards movement. Literally, there's a hinge that allows forward and backwards movement. You can pop him apart at the waist for the Frieza pod, which we'll see in a little bit. Renewal style hips, so swivel forward. And then when we go to swivel out to the side, if you disassemble them, you'll see that they're swivels. They're hinges, but okay. Yeah, whoa, like that. Yeah, sometimes that can happen if you push Frieza just a little too hard like I did there. But, see, swivel. They pop in just fine enough with no big deal. There we go. All right, so we do have a thigh swivel. Very good. Double hinge knees. Do we have a boot cut? No, we don't. So that swivel up here at the forearm is only going to be there, but that's fine because the ankles do feature hinges, so we can move them forward and back. Ankle rockers, which is pretty cool. And they do have swivels where the ankles plug in up here. So that's cool. Now for the tail, it's going to become detached in the box, so it seems. It seems like all the Friezas that I've seen are that way. So it plugs in, and then we do have double swivel where it plugs in at the base of the tail, and then the actual tail of itself, and a hinge. So pretty good movement there. And then this kind of surprised me. I did this by accident. There's another cut there, so this way we can spin the tail around as well. So that's nice. Yeah, so Frieza has a whole bunch of little hidden joints here and there, and articulation is fantastic. And if you happen to push the joints too much, don't worry, you can just put them back together. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Frieza gets a thumb up in my book. Accessories time, and Frieza comes with a whole bunch of stuff. I like a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. Frieza's going to come with an alternate head sculpt, which is nearly identical to the one that he comes with already in the box. Alternate hand parts, Supernova, Dragon Ball, and his Frieza pod. Dragon Ball first. I really do have to commend Bandai on this one because they have come a long way since the original Dragon Ball releases. I'm talking about the actual Dragon Balls, not like the franchise Dragon Ball. Even then too. So the Namekian Dragon Balls, even for Ginyu, which I do have Ginyu, I haven't had the chance to review it. If you attach the lens extender that I have for my camera and then you zoom in times 10 on my camera, you can see some imperfections in the mold. But other than that, these look fine. They're great. There's no seam lines. They look like they just came straight out of the anime, which is fantastic. I mean, these are bigger. They're nicer than the OG Dragon Balls. So Bandai, great job really listening to fan feedback here and making them better. Frieza comes with the 5-star Namekian Dragon Ball. Now, for the alternate faceplates and the alternate head sculpt, what's that all about? Well, Frieza is going to come with 2 alternate faceplates for the default head sculpt, and then he's going to come with an alternate head sculpt that also comes with 2 faceplates. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and throw up the different pictures that utilize both the faceplate by itself and then with the scouter. So the reason for this, that he's going to come with the alternate head sculpt, is that the faceplates that have the extended mouth where he's, either laughing or he's yelling, those don't fit in with the default head sculpt that we get right out the box. Yeah, you can try it, but it isn't going to quite work. Also of note, I made mention of this earlier, he's going to have that detachable earmuff. That one is actually going to be specific for the normal or the alternate head sculpt, so don't get that mixed up. It also points this out in the instruction booklet. Now, if you need help understanding how that sort of swaps out, here's a picture of what that sort of looks like when you don't have anything attached in to the faceplates. Though the interchangeable earmuff part, I guess you would call it, is slightly different, the overall concept is the same. Now let's go ahead and talk about those alternate hand parts. Frieza is going to come with left and right sort of cuffed or splayed hand parts, and then he's going to come with an alternate left and right pointing finger for hands. Now for the left one, the finger is sort of curved, but for the right one, it's pointed straight out, and we all know what that's for. Supernova, he's going to blow up a planet. Here in specific, he's going to blow up planet Vegeta because when he's on Namek, the 5 minutes, that's going to take final form. Now, We do also get the supernova effect part, and no real issues here. Smaller than the Dragon Balls that we got originally with the Dragon Ball releases, and quality control holds up very well. So spheres, Bandai has gotten a whole lot better at it. Good job there, and I know exactly what you're thinking. Steven, can this be used with the final form Frieza? Yes, it can. The only thing to take note of, the finger for final form Frieza is just a little bit too big. The hole in the supernova is a little too small. You got to push real hard, and it only fits on the tip, so be careful with this connection. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the Frieza pod, which looks cool. General rule of thumb is that gold paint is nearly impossible for any company to get really correct. Usually it comes out a little clumpy here or there, but for the Frieza pod, it looks just fine with no issues to talk about whatsoever. Now, the Frieza pod does come with a little support stand that allows it to make it look like it's hovering, and that's pretty easy to use. You can see how it sort of slots in here, so pretty easy for you to figure out. And then what's really cool about this is that we get to see the inside of the pod. I talked about Toriyama being involved with this release previously, and not only was Toriyama consulted for how Frieza actually looks, aside from just using the source material, but there's no reference point for the inside of the pod. There's not one panel, there's not anything in the anime, movies, nothing. So I remember seeing an article that was posted by Tamashii Nations proper that addressed this, but I don't seem to remember where I saw that at. But I definitely saw that because they had to come up with their own conception for this, and they had to consult Toriyama for it. So, congratulations, this is our first look inside of Frieza's pod. Now, let's go ahead and just wrap this all up in a nice bow, and how do we swap parts? How do we get Frieza into the pod? How do we do all of that? Here's a little quick sped up how-to on how you get all that to happen. And here's how I'm going to set up the 360 spin view you're about to see. Now, for Frieza here, to get him to sit in his pod, he does detach at the waist and his tail does pop off. Now, what I recommend at first, pop the torso in and then the tail. I actually did that opposite first time here, and it didn't necessarily work out too well because I didn't want to break anything. So yeah, follow that method first and you should be good to go. Now, what else could Frieza have come with? Well, I feel like Frieza here could have used some curled up feet like the final form Frieza did, and then an RBF face. But other than that, I don't really quite know what else this release of Frieza could have come with, because he doesn't really stay too active in this form aside from chilling in his pod, killing a couple Namekians, or transforming. Bandai, when are we going to see those other forms? Yeah. So if you are interested in some other effect parts, then definitely check out some videos that I have, including videos on stands, which, by the way, didn't quite cover this yet. On the Frieza pod, there's a little hidden back door. You could just pop that off and you can stick a Tamashii support stand in there. They thought of everything with this release. Now, here's a size comparison so you can see just how big Frieza is going to be with some other figures on your shelf. Whether you're going to sneak him into your Namek display you already have set up in anticipation for Frieza, or maybe this is just the one Dragon Ball character you wanted and you're going to sneak him in elsewhere. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. MSRP of about $88 or so, and I gotta say, it's worth it. Yeah, he is small, but he comes packed with pretty much everything that you could need for a Figuarts Frieza release. This is something that we fans have been waiting for years to get, and not only did we get it, it was done correctly. Minor issues that may vary depending on user to user, so your mileage may vary, but at the end of the day, I don't think we could get much better than this. Good job. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now you've heard a lot from me, I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.